Welcome, everybody, to the mighty Nuff Said Reading Club with Phil and Rob. We are talking this episode. This is what? Episode 8, issue 8. I'm never going to get this right. We're talking the series from 2012. So this is a newer series, Avengers versus X-Men, which I think the title in the future is going to be important. I don't know if this story will necessarily be the important story, but maybe. I still hold out that at some point a deal will be made to make something like this happen. It might take a long time, but I think this is absolutely, and I believe that's why this was made too. It is fodder for the canon so that the MCU can eventually do something with these two groups together. That's my opinion. So this series, it ran what, 12 issues plus a few extras?
Yeah, I think there was like a separate one where it just like showcased the battles more, the individual battles more.
Yeah, and it did one of those online books too, that was really short. That was just like aftermath of a battle or something. So Phil, initial thoughts. What'd you think of this series?
It was good. It's like, are these X-Men just troublemakers? Because here they're fighting the X-Men. Now we have Inhumans versus X-Men. It just seems like the X-Men are picking fights with everybody.
Yeah, I actually kind of feel the same way. In fact, going back to what I just said about how I think that it's part of the fodder for the canon, there's been a lot of stuff with the mutants. Marvel doesn't own the mutants cinematically, so they've done a lot to kind of distance themselves. They're killing them in the Marvel universe, the comics universe. It may take a while before they're all really gone, but they are doing a lot to kind of make the Inhumans their babies. And this series, I really felt they were driving a stake in the ground to say, yeah, potentially X-Men are the bad guys. And you won't be sad when they're gone. Scott Summers really went out of control in this.
Mm-hmm.
All that being said, I did like a lot of this series. I thought, like a lot of these, especially the latter day events that Marvel does, I thought it went over like a lead balloon in the last couple issues. I kind of stopped caring. But I did like the premise. I liked this whole idea. If you haven't read it yet, and we're not going to spoil too much here, we just kind of overview. The Phoenix Force is coming back, and there is a mutant that is basically the target for the Phoenix Force, and the X-Men are trying to position her to make her the new Phoenix, so that the mutants, the people with the mutant gene, can kind of be in charge or evolve, something like that. Same old story, that we've kind of heard. It fails, and it ends up going into 4 of the mutants, including Scott Summers, and I forget who else was in there, because he just becomes awful. And then the Avengers have to stop him. And you say the X-Men were kind of the bad guys in that respect. I say the Avengers were kind of faceless. They had a ton of them in there, and they were really just there to fight. And maybe that's all the series was for, was to have these big battles and to kind of make Scott Summers the bad guy. Could be, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying they're the bad guys, but it just seems like it's always the X-Men versus somebody.
Well, yeah. When I say bad guy, it's not like they turned into Victor Von Doom.
Yeah.
But, well, no, actually, they are kind of Victor Van Doom, or Victor Von Doom. Van Doom. Hey, it's Van Doom. If you look at Victor Von Doom, we may have talked about this on here. I don't know if it was on this show. But you can look at him, and yes, he is a bad guy, but from an ethical standpoint, if you look at him and what he does, you may not agree with it. You may say, yeah, this is a bad guy, but he believes he is running things from his ethical viewpoint.
Oh, yeah.
And that is kind of what was going on here. Just like the X-Men, that's always been the X-Men story, is their ethical stance. And why Magneto has been such an interesting character. He believes he's not trying to do bad. He's not the Joker. He believes these are the right actions. And The problem is he believes I will sacrifice the many or the few for the good of mankind.
Mm.
And that's kind of what happened here. They thought they were doing good. It's just Scott Summers' ego went boom out of control there for a while. I liked a lot of what was going on, but this was inherent of what I have a problem with a lot of times with traditional comics. Boy, I'm going to get some haters on me on this one. I'll tell you why. Why does everything have to just come down to a fist fight?
Mm-hmm.
And when it's not just a fist fight, these people have weapons that would kill. Wolverine, when his claws come out, unless you have impenetrable skin, he's going to rip your guts out. He's going to disembowel you with that. There should be carnage everywhere. It doesn't happen. Scott Summers, when he blasts with those eyes things, I mean, he could blow up a city with his eyes. You see characters taking a direct hit. It's like they would not survive that, and they just kind of like, oh, I got blasted back, and I'm like, yeah, what did he pull back? Not when he had Phoenix Force, he didn't. So that's the kind of stuff that to me is a little bit weaker. I like story, and that's not necessarily story, but I liked it. I did like it. I did enjoy reading it. By the end, I lost interest in the last couple issues, but it held me for a long time. Now, once again, we had, like Mark Waid wrote the first issue. Mark Waid's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Faction wrote an issue. There were a lot of really good writers in here, and the artwork was good. Everything was, there were actually some panels that were standouts in here, like really creative, beautiful work. The coloring on it was beautiful. But as a series, and it was better than Original Sin. I thought I always go back to that one because that one, boy, when that one fell off the rails, there was no hope.
Yeah.
I felt this. It was enough that by the end I was like, okay, I finished it. I lost interest by the end, but it was good. I know the story. I do think, however, the title X-Men versus Avengers will be something they will use, just like Age of Ultron, Civil War. Those are good, solid names. And I think they will use that when this eventually happens. I know everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I would not be surprised if, especially after Infinity War, I'm telling you, if it's going to happen in the iterations we're seeing, it's going to happen around Infinity War and possibly in Infinity War because Hugh Jackman's going to get too old, and he wants to be in an MCU film. And how great! I mean, talk about a moneymaker. If you could put his Wolverine in Infinity War for a portion of it and have Patrick Stewart roll through, it would be fanboy city. It would be awesome. It would fulfill all these wants and everything. They just got to make the numbers work to make that happen. And if that works, that it'll explode and they'll say, well, how do we do this again? And that's when we get Avengers versus X-Men.
Mark his words.
Words are way marked. I've said this before, though. So, and I think this series, reading this, I kept kind of seeing that. Like, I think they're setting this up so that if there is a way that it's going to happen, this is how. And they really didn't make him a bad guy. They could do this story and go back to their X-Men universe, and you're not going to go, oh, man, they're terrible. They were infected by the Phoenix Force, and they were thinking they were doing right. The Avengers didn't kill them. They fought them, but the whole time going, I don't want to do this. That is the recipe of Marvel movies right there. Look at Civil War. I'm fighting you, but I'm trying not to hit you too hard because we're still friends, right? Yeah, we're friends, but we got to fight this out. Yeah.
I mean, everyone wins if you put Hugh Jackman Wolverine in Avengers Infinity War. Say he helps him fight Thanos.
My gosh. My gosh.
I mean, everyone's going to go see, the MCU movie Infinity War, and Fox gets free advertising.
How about him taking a stab at Hulk, which we all want to see that, right? And his claws, bing, they can't do it. We're all waiting for that.
Captain America's shield.
Yep, we're all waiting for it. Be incredible. I don't think you do Captain America's shield because you already had Bucky in the Shield doing that, which was awesome. I think you have Hulk and Wolverine. Boom, that would be amazing. And maybe he swipes and he hits Groot and splinters go flying. And and Rocket's like, all right, what are you kidding me? Bob, bob, bob. And Wolverine would be like, what's with the rat? What's with the rat? I mean, I
Mhm.
see it all happening. It would be amazing. Amazing. So we'll see.
But I think this story, it was a good story, but I think where it suffered is I don't know if they needed 12 issues. They probably could have did this in 9.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, it fell out. It
Hmm.
became kind of boring at the end there. And there were a lot of characters. I get it. You're trying to throw them all in there. It's, fanboy servicing. Maybe tell a tighter story.
Yeah.
Maybe focus on some of them a little bit harder. Let's get into the character a little bit more. This just felt like a big popcorn movie that kind of fell flat at the end a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's the weakness of like some of the modern comics is they write for the trades, so they
Yeah,
try to, this. I'm sure 12 issues they probably got what 2 trades out of it at least.
probably, yeah. Plus, they did that Infinium. I think that's what the Infinity issue, which is their
Mm,
online thing. And even that, it was good people working on it. And I was like, I didn't need to read it.
yeah.
Nothing really happened in it. It's not like that. Speaking of those Infinity comics, if you read the Mark Waid Daredevil one, oh my gosh, it's like the only way you can read it is online, and it is exceptional.
Hmm.
That had a story. It was great. And the artwork was
Yeah.
like beautiful.
But the basic idea of the story is good because it's like yeah, Cyclops wants this Phoenix Force that the mutant race is kind of on the downslide, and
Yeah,
this will reinvigorate it. And meanwhile, Captain America's like, well, I don't know if we want the Phoenix Force in your hands. This thing has
right.
destroyed worlds, and you know, you,
Yeah, it's the recipe for what works in these Marvel movies that have all these characters. It is
Mhm.
exactly it. And the setup was great. You just kind of, and really, it wasn't until those last couple episodes or issues that I really just kind of found myself like doing homework. I was getting through it at the end.
Mhm.
Even though I didn't dislike it and I didn't think there was a problem with the writing or anything, it just, like you said, it needed an editor to tighten this thing down to 8 or 9 issues, and it would have been a lot better. And
It's
and give me, I know what might have solved some of it. So you've got the X-Men, you've got the Avengers, you're telling this outward story. Make that almost in the background. Tell me the story of Hope.
mhm.
You started telling me the story of Hope. I know nothing about Hope. Make her the central character. Tell the entire story about Hope, almost like in the Marvels book where it's about the reporter and all this stuff is happening around it. You're like, whoa, but it's about this guy. Tell it about Hope. Tell her story, give her hero's journey, and at the end, she either lives or she dies. End of story.
They kind of did a Hope story. I think it
Kind
was right.
of.
Did you read there was like a Cable series right before this miniseries, I think, and it was Hope and Cable like jumping through time because Bishop was chasing them and he wanted to kill Hope.
Okay. No, I didn't read that one.
Okay, yeah. So they kind
Future
of did.
episode, Phil. Future episode.
Okay, yeah, but they kind of did a lot of Hope stuff there.
Yeah, but this should have been the Hope story.
Yeah.
X-Men versus Avengers tell the same story, but make sure that the focus is on Hope. It's Hope's story arc. So when you get to that big battle and you're worried about, if you're an Avengers person, you're worried about the Avengers. If you're an X-Men person, you're worried about the X-Men. And
Hmm.
Hope is at the center of it, and she is absolutely torn. You can even end up on the moon like you did, but it's ultimately, does she live or does she die? And I'm not saying one is stronger than the other, because usually it's like, well, kill him. That's the strongest choice.
Hmm.
No, I want to be surprised. She either becomes the Phoenix or she doesn't. It's either Scott Summers is left beaten and bloodied, and the Phoenix has moved on to its real host, or the Phoenix goes away and they're left with this feeling of impending doom.
Hmm.
That would, those are much stronger choices that I would have liked to see.
And
Of course,
spoilers, we
they're
do get the
stronger
death.
because I said them, right? No, I'm kidding.
Spoilers, we do get the death of a major character at the end of this.
Do we? I don't. That's how much I got disinterested. Who died?
Professor X.
Oh yeah. You know what? How many times has Professor X died? I've read so many books where they recap him dying that
Yeah.
I kind of went over it. Like I didn't realize this is where he died.
Well, he's still dead in the comics to this day. I
Right,
mean, the Red
right. I
Skull's
know.
running around. The Red Skull's running around now with his brain.
I do have to say though, uh, there's series after this, and I think they were the straight up X-Men series after this that are really strong, where Scott is off the rails, even though he thinks he's like sided with Magneto, and he thinks he's doing the right thing for mutants and for humanity. Yes. Professor X is dead. He's trying to fulfill Professor X's dreams, but it's distorted. I thought those books were really good. And I'm not like an X-Men guy. I like their books a lot, and when I get a good X-Men story, it's gold. But it's not like, for me, it was always Daredevil and Spider-Man were the ones. Those got me. So some people are X-Men, some people are Spider-Man. Okay? But this series, I really dug, and this was what led into it. So, it is valid. It's worth your time. Just know you might feel a little disappointed at the end, and know it's worth seeing the aftermath. Go past this and see some of those things after it to get more of the story, and I think you'll get a richer experience. Agreed?
Oh yeah, agreed.
All right, let's move on. That's it. Thank you for listening, everybody. That was this week's Mighty Nuff Said Reading Club episode. See, every time. Issue 8. I have issues, Phil. In case you didn't know. Hey, Phil. Fill me in. Where can people find you?
Well, they can always contact me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. On Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And check out my website, philparrish.wordpress.com.
All right, and check out his new show, Wade's World, which is all about Deadpool, on the Nuff Said feed. Find us on YouTube. Look up Nuff Said Universe. We have edited versions of this show. We have all of our shows, and we have some original content coming to that. Find us on Patreon if you want to support the show. It's greatly appreciated. It's what keeps these things going. I'm going to try something new on this one. We're going to play a little YouTube magic. You can follow the links, bam, right there, to go to our website. And if I work it out right, I don't know if I can, maybe you can go to Patreon, or it'll just be a link to our other feeds on Nuff Said. How's that? See, it should be in a box right here somewhere. You can also find links on our YouTube channel to League of Geeks, which is what a Lil's show is, and to some of the various other shows. In fact, we just launched YouTube channels for, was it Channel 52 or was it just the Legends of DC?
Legends of DC, I believe.
Legends of DC. Oh, Legends of DC and Before the Bat. Both have YouTube channels now, so you can check those out. The links should be on the side. All the links, all the stuff is in the show notes below, and also a link to get Nuff Said t-shirts, and we are going to start making some new original shirts. They'll be limited edition, so you want to follow that link and see what's going on. As they come out, follow us on Twitter. We'll tweet out when something's coming out. They may only be up for a weekend. They may be up for a month. I don't know. No decisions have been made. But there's going to be some fun ones. Some of them might be a little hot buttered. Fair warning. That is it. Thanks again for listening, everybody, and watching.